Hey everybody, I'm Katallina, and today we're talking about episode 6 of An Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride. This week's episode was pure payoff in every way. I almost titled the video, First Your Arms, Then Your Knees. But there's something much more pressing we need to discuss before we can touch the fight. An elephant in the room that we must wrestle with. There are going to be a lot of people who are upset about the collar being put back on Nephy, and who are going to blame Zagan for that. Frankly, that's bullshit, because it's Nephy who tells him she wants it back on, and who explains, after he tries to tell her why it's a bad idea, that she values it because it was the beginning of her connection to him. It's also the first and only time we've ever heard Nephy ask another character for something directly related to herself. Every other decision we've seen her make has been on behalf of or in the interests of another person. And now, the first time Nephy actually makes an individual choice, we want Zagan to say no? And that's supposed to be freedom. We need to pay careful attention to the dialogue in this scene, to the fact that Zagan has made it clear that Nephy is no longer a slave, his servant, or even an apprentice. But he's still the same Zagan we knew 3 hours before, and she's still the same Nephy from that same time. These two are not becoming reacquainted 6 months or 3 years later. Not even a day has passed. The lamb stew she cooked in episode 4 is probably still fresh and edible. I'm not here to say anyone has to like the fact that Nephy wants to wear that thing, but the idea that some will be angry at the story, or more importantly at Zagan, for letting her wear it, tells me that there are people who are more interested in their own sense of what's normal in our world than they are in the fact that to Nephy, this thing is probably similar to Linus' blanket in the Snoopy comics. That may sound twisted, but that's the vibe I get from this scene. On a more pleasant note, I think that Zagan's confession was beautiful and in character. It's so obvious he wants to ask Nephy to be his wife, but as always, his lips get in the way. Tying together with the situation I just mentioned about the collar, I love the fact that he ends up joking that it's a bit imposing as a wedding ring, but that it'll do. It goes to show that the love between two people should not be measured by what is perceived from the outside world. We've seen time and again that these two look out for each other, and the idea of discrediting them because they, in a story realm with sorcerers, demons, and magic, do not comply with our 21st century moral ethos is ridiculous. Okay, now that we've dealt with that, let's move on to the fight with Barbatos. Of course, we see Barbatos totally get his ass kicked, and he totally deserved that. The punches to his arms and his knees particularly were obviously intended as direct retribution for having taken Nephy and the fact that he was going to hurt her. We also, though, see Zagan exercise mercy rather than killing Barbatos, because killing him would have been one step toward becoming him and the rest of the archdemons, and I'm pretty sure Nephy wouldn't want that. And I don't think Zagan would want that either. Zagan actually seems, for the most part, like he's a pretty straightforward and pretty decent guy. Definitely a cut above among the people he's around in his own social circles and inside of this world. So I'm glad that they're not tainting that. I love the fact that by the end of the fight, Zagan is basically playing with Barbatos and telling him to drop by and bring me some booze. I love the fact that Zagan has the confidence to tell Barbatos he can keep trying to kill him going forward, but that he'd better bring the bubbly. You see, there is a distinction between arrogance and confidence. Arrogance says, you can't. Confidence says, I can. And Zagan definitely has confidence. Plus, in the fight proper, what sets Zagan apart isn't being able to hurt Barbatos, but rather being able to cancel out every spell Barbatos casts, before dropping all of that pent-up magic like a hammer next to Barbatos' head, and scaring him shitless, of course. I really liked that. It got the point across without having to be an actual jerk, which is actually really interesting and refreshing. In a lot of ways, I think that this fight and the way that Zagan handled himself kind of reminds me of how Goku would have went about something like this. I got some massive Goku against some of his opponent's vibes as I watched this scene, and that really made me smile. The fight plays out as an extension of Zagan's character, which is what makes it so great. It gets capped off, of course, by the circle that Barbatos was trying to cast activating by accident. Zagan's concerned about everyone's safety and that they're going to become Din-Din, which means Barbatos would have been screwed if he had been alone. Fortunately for all of those present, the creature that comes out of the circle is actually connected to the marking that is now on Zagan's hand, and Zagan is able to tell it to go back from whence it came and leave everyone alone. The episode wraps up with Chastille returning to the church and being stripped of her title and sword, since she refuses to hunt Zagan down. I admire the fact that she decided that she wants to stand for what she believes is true, rather than following any ideology blindly. This could have dire consequences for her, and was a heck of a way to end the episode. Overall, this was an episode that I thought was rock solid and that had my attention from start to finish. But what did you guys think? Do you have any opinions about the caller? Do you think Zagan will ever find a way to tell Nephy how he really feels? I'd love to know, so drop a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!